So, welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Tuesday, December 27th, 2022 meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, so if you're dialing in, please use *6 to mute and unmute. And I'm going to do a roll call since we have a few people Zooming. So, we just, Brian and Grover, you sound off that you're here?
Brian Sullivan, present.
Grover? Well, we can see him.
So I'm mute.
I'm here.
Okay,
Larry Keane here.
Brian Murphy here.
Heidi Conway.
Technical difficulties.
All right. So we only have one hearing tonight, and that is the Town of Marshfield, 22-128. Town of Marshfield, the petitioner is seeking site plan approval in accordance with 305-1202 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to create a dog park on the property located at 35 Proprietors Drive, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel E09-01-128 and is located in the I-1 zoning district. Go ahead, name and for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Moresco, Town Administrator, and I'm joined by,
Fred Russell, Facility Manager.
I just want to give an overview. I know in your packets, Fred put together a great overview with some maps and some other background information on the dog park. And just to let the board know, we received our $250,000 check last week from the Stanton Foundation, matched with the town money, so we got about $500,000 to get the park done. Architectural design layout of the area with elevated islands in both the large and small dog areas. We're going to have photovoltaic lighting low to the ground so that it's not interfering with the condos that are there or the elderly housing complex that's there. There's going to be drinkable water. There'll be a water pit with a meter supplied by the DPW. We'll be paying for the water that's used. They'll bring it in from the street that runs in front of the Welch Healthcare building. There'll be photovoltaic canopies for a majority of the dog park to provide shelter from the sun for the dogs and their human parents. We'll have appropriate drainage on the site. There are 2 handicap parking spaces, and there's some asphalt walkway to the main entrance to the 2 gated areas for the dogs, and that will be covered with a special paint that keeps the temperature down so that the people that are walking, if the humans don't have their shoes on, they won't burn their feet, and the dogs won't burn the pads of their feet. There are 2 fenced-in areas, a large and a small dog area. Those will be vinyl fencing. There will be appropriate shrubs and tree plantings along the dog park area to augment the shade that's overhead from the photovoltaics. There'll be built-up berms on the condo side in the Boys and Girls Club area. So as you come into the roadway, there's condos, there's 2 of the buildings now, there's a 3rd building that's supposed to go in there, so we're going to berm it up on that side and put shrubs and some trees on that side. And the Boys and Girls Club already has a berm, and we'll be adding to their berm a little and doing some additional planting on that side so that the park is sort of segregated, surrounding. If you drive in from the road, in the far back right corner, next to Welch Healthcare, there's a big pine grove area. That will stay. We're going to clean up just in the area under there, but that will stay as a buffer also.
So is that coming
with the
from
trees.
proprietors, or, like, where you're talking
We
about?
come in from like 35 Proprietors, right next to the right of the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, that's
And
what
we
that,
come in that parking lot, yep,
and the berm, just quickly, just so I don't forget.
yes.
The shrubbery that's there as a barrier for the Boys and Girls Club, how tall, like, how big is that gonna be, and is it gonna be like a nice natural
Yeah, they'll
border,
grow,
or-
we're using arborvitaes. We're gonna use arborvitae, so, I think they grow to 12 feet. And they'll be planted, and they'll become like a natural vegetative fence.
Between the 2?
Yeah. Because those are separate and distinct. The dogs themselves are in the penned-off areas. We're gonna have trash and dog waste containers. There's a company that will come and pick up the dog waste. And we'll work with seeing if either the town will pick up the trash or we'll have a private bulk haul or pick up the trash. So we'll have to discuss that, but with the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park will be handling the dog waste removal, so it'll be removed a few times a week.
So it won't become
2
an
or 3
expense
times.
to the town then?
No expense to the town on the dog waste, and the DPW is not picking up the dog waste. We'll see if they'll, if we pay the yearly fee, if they'll pick up the regular trash type stuff. The dog areas themselves will be covered with pea stone, wild grass plants, and wood bark mulch for ground cover. There'll be benches, walkways, sheds to store equipment and stuff like that, and handicap picnic tables. We're anticipating in the future a dog splash pad for probably both large and small dogs, because we can't give one to the other, so when they raise some additional funds, they hope to add that. Hours of operation, 6 a.m. till sunset, or no later than 9 p.m. Rules for dogs and dog parents and guardians, so we'll have rules about operations.
So they'll be posted?
They'll be posted, yeah, like on a big sign. They'll look something like this. I didn't make copies for people because I actually took this off the internet from one of our neighboring communities, but we'll have signs, very nice signs with little paws on them around the park, and it gets into things, people rules. Dogs must be leashed when entering and leaving the park to avoid injury to any person or dog. Remove any electric training collars, prong spikes, choke collars before entering the park. Access is restricted to designated double entry gates, so there's particular way to get in, particular way to get out. Owners must maintain effective verbal control. No food, dog treats, alcoholic beverages, glass containers, toys, bikes, or smoking is allowed in the park. You have to pick up after your dog, just like any responsible owner should. If a dog becomes a problem, they should be removed automatically. So we'll have a whole list of rules on there. And then dog rules as per state law and local bylaw. All dogs 6 months of age or older must be properly licensed and vaccinated for rabies. And I think the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park are going to have a more elaborate set of rules. I think they may be charging like an annual fee for people to come in, very similar to what Situate does. I think you pay, I don't even want to quote a price, but, hypothetically, you pay a fee, get an identification card,
So how do they, because I went over to Situate and I just walked right in. Nobody cared. So how do they monitor that or make sure people are licensed or whatever, just with all the kids that are around that area?
They will be doing checks, then usually they do. There may have been somebody there, it's probably not anyone, but they didn't see you with a dog, so they probably...
No, I brought my dog.
Oh, you did bring
Yeah,
a dog? Okay.
and I had his license, but
So-
nobody checked, nobody
no one
cared.
che-
No, nobody
yeah,
cared, no.
Interesting, yeah, very interesting.
So I was just kind of wondering, how do they,
We hope to be, the goal, and, we've had a number of meetings with the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park, and, they want to run it more professional, like a, I don't want to say like a business,
doggy
but
daycare or
a
something
doggy-
like that?
Well, yeah, because, there has to be rules. Everyone has to follow rules, including the dog. If you have a violent dog, if you
Right,
have a dog that's
aggressive,
not,
Misbehaving.
is misbehaving and it's not socially adaptable, then that's probably not a good place for your dog. Because it's
Right.
going to aggravate other dogs, so there'll be rules like that, and people do monitor. There'll be a phone number to call also to the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park. Or the police number will be there, the animal control officer's number will be there. We'll have appropriate signs that meet the sign bylaw that will be hanging up there.
okay.
So we'll have that, and
And
we're gonna
animals
have
get the
drinking
dog.
water.
Good.
Yep, we'll have drinking water also, drinking fountains for the adults and lower drinking fountains for the animals to go into a bucket that they drink out of.
So is there anything maintaining with that, like in the winter months or anything like that? How do they just shut it down, and that's what they do? Okay. So who's going to maintain the park with the landscaping if something has to be replaced or something dies, or, who will be taking care
So,
of that?
Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park, if for some reason they're unable to do it, it falls to the town. We're technically the ones that signed the agreement, I sign on behalf of the town, so for 99 years, we're on the hook.
Okay. So if they default, the town ends
So
up
we'd have
having to
fill
take
you.
care of it? Okay. And does that, where would the money, do we have money to allocate it for that? Like, how
Well,
does
that's
that,
why
I mean,
the-
not that it's probably gonna be like one tree, but I'm just saying, like, maintaining
Oh, those are all
whatever.
good questions. Those are the things, the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park are very aggressive. They had a Christmas event where people brought their dogs to get their pictures taken with Santa Claus. They raised money. They've already raised like $50,000, so they're very successful in the types of fundraising that they do to properly maintain the park. You know, as stuff gets broken, it's just like any other thing, that they'll have to be on top of it. It's not like they're gonna be just on their own. We'll be keeping an eye on it too and having a working relationship with them. DPW will supply the water, we'll have to make arrangements. They'll bill the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park yearly for their, well, right now it's biannually, and if we go to quarterly billing, they'll get a quarterly bill for the water, and they'll have to pay the water bill just like anybody else. The park is designed, and Fred, jump in on anything. The park's designed to have very low maintenance. That's why the first couple of years, well, any tree plantings, we have to keep properly watered for the first 2 years. After that, trees become adaptable to whatever the climate is. So the first couple of years, we'll have to make sure that things that are watered out there.
They're under warranty for 1 year. And then they also maintain it for that first year.
So then, so the Friends of the Dog Park will be responsible for that water bill for that whole time, for whatever that
correct.
happens to be, just to make sure that they are maintained and what have you.
Right.
Okay.
One water meter pit, that's gonna feed the two water bubblers and the 2 yard hydrants. So, Marshfield.
Yeah.
And the hours, would you say 6 AM to,
6 a.m. to sunset, but no later than 9 p.m. You know, in the winter, you won't have a lot of people out there at 9 p.m., but in the summer, the sun sets at like 8:30, 8:45. You'll have people
Congregation,
in at
yeah.
9 o'clock. So you want to be respectful because it is right next to the condos, it is right next to the Welch Health Care, and, you know, elderly people go to bed early, so.
yeah.
Now, is this gonna go right into the facilities manager's responsibility as far as doing inspections, going up there, making sure it's maintained on a routine basis?
It is, but I'm sure that Fred will check. It is a town, you know, so it's really a town facility, but the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park are gonna manage it, but it's
Yeah.
still ultimately our responsibility.
Sure, that's what I meant, like
Yeah.
doing the annual inspection or biannual
Yeah,
inspection,
and
we just,
we'll make sure the water's shut off, I mean, it's freeze.
yeah.
So we'd make sure that was maintained and so forth, you know?
Like all the other facilities around town, every other building must be on a routine maintenance where
Right.
you schedule, you do inspections on them.
We do,
So
something like this, we'll do a seasonal
this will
inspection.
go
on
right
it.
into it.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, imagine if there was a problem with not picking up the waste, we'd have to get the Board of Health involved and all that stuff too, but yeah, we'd definitely be the,
I like the design of it, that it's blending into the environment that's already there, using the stone boulders around the fencing and the arborvitae's around it for you know, sheltering and screening of the property.
the good thing too is there's a lot of rocks on site and soil on site for that.
Yeah, I
too.
read that everything's being utilized, that's
Exactly.
pretty much on site.
Reusing it, yeah, recycling it.
Those arborvitae's do get to the point where they're pretty much self-sufficient, they really don't take much, you know?
JJ, do you have anything, or Brian?
No, I am here with my dog, and he has already voted in favor of it, so
It's good to hear.
That's excellent.
there he is.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thanks, Brian. Grover, do you have anything?
What does that mean?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
No, it's a great thing for the town. I don't have a dog. I used to. Have a thing like this. The plans look great.
It's good.
So I just have a question. So for the record, like, how did this parcel come to be? Like, how did it,
So, town meeting approved it last spring. What happened is we had a different site, so where that school is right now, that the soil came down into the Boys and Girls Club, that was the original site that we had. We had some town parcels there, and then the Verakis were giving us a parcel to use to create the parcel big enough to have the dog park. The problem with that parcel is that we would have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the sloping to get that to work. And it really became uneconomically feasible. So then we looked for an alternative site, and they were able to find that piece of land. And it's flat, so we don't have to spend a lot of money. we do have to move the dirt around, we have to build the berms, you have to build the elevated islands with inside each, just so it looks aesthetically pleasing. I mean, the dogs don't care, but certainly the adults that go there, that take their pets, you know, you want something that looks nice and something that sort of blends into, you know, how we have some of our other facilities in town.
So with you, when you said the handicap parking spaces is going to be 2, so is it, so if someone's in a wheelchair, whatever, they can get right into, from their cars, right into the dog park with their dogs like everybody else, right?
That is correct.
Okay, just want for the
And
record.
there's 7 other additional spots, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when I was
counted
out
7 there.
at Situate, and then I went to Wrexham, which is not a dog park, but like everybody brings their dog down to Wrexham Beach and they, you know, go about their business with
I
their
hope they're
dogs.
picking up after their dogs.
Well, no, that what, they were not, but anyways. So there was a lot of people there, despite the rules of having to bring your dog into the spot. They were just opening their car doors and letting the dogs go. So I was there for a while in both spots, and there was a number of dogs that just kind of went like their own way, and the people, like, we have kids that are gonna be out that way playing soccer and, you know, at the Boys and Girls Club, like, how are we,
They have to be
we
under.
thought about that?
Yes,
or-
they have to be under the control of their owner. If not, then they can't use the park. So the rules would be very strict, and they'll be enforced by the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park. And if people aren't following it, I'm sure that Mr. Bunnell will be giving us a call if there are dogs suddenly running into, you know, trying to get into the, jump into the pool or something like that.
Yes, I mean, I'm more concerned with, I mean, if they want to swim, that's fine, but I'm more concerned with safety of a kid getting bit by a dog or
Yeah.
whatever, just because I did notice in Wrexham, the kids were playing basketball and somebody,
So we're in, like, in,
right
right
at
in
the
the
Wrexham
beach
Beach
area.
parking
Yeah.
lot, where they all go down into, you know, they're all allowed to go down there, but a kid was knocked over with, he was playing basketball at the hoops right there, so I'm just
Because
being,
dogs like balls.
yeah, so I'm just a little concerned about.
Talking the riverside, right down by the river.
Yeah, everybody goes
Out
there
that
with their
little- out
dogs.
that
It's-
little, yeah.
They all kind of park right there and they go in this basketball. So I'm concerned with, are the arborvitae's going to be enough to just kind of protect the Boys and Girls Club? There's a preschool there, there's
Well, I
another
mean,
school.
it's no different than dogs already roaming anyways. It's no different than sitting on the beach and someone lets their dog run around and stuff like that. You know, it's,
Right, but we're inviting them to the place and, you know what I mean? Like, we're making it a I'm just saying, do we have any,
no, if you're asking, are the police gonna be there? No.
I mean,
I don't
currently
think
in
the
place,
police-
I think there's some buffers there, and there'll be buffers that
Correct.
exist.
Yep.
That would deter from heading in that direction towards
Yeah.
the Boys and Girls Club. There's a
so
natural
it'll be
buffer
enough
there.
to, that's all I'm concerned with,
Yes,
enough
you
to, like,
did
if all
talk
the
about
kids are
making
running
some
out there
more
on
buffers.
summer camp when there's like, 550,000
Yeah,
children
it's
out there.
far, yeah, I mean, it's far enough away. You know, it's interesting, I've never gone to a dog park, to be honest with you.
It's interesting.
Different.
It's, you know, I don't know, do people go first thing in the morning?
All
They
day.
go all
They go
day, yeah,
So,
it's
you know,
all
people will
hours.
bring, I mean, we have plenty of parking on, you know, coming in from proprietors because you got the road coming in. At least, 8 to 12 cars could fit there. And you could park on the other parking lots on the other side, just walk across and then come, you just have to walk in. There's one way to get into both the large and the small pen. The one thing about the dog, at least, you know, what I'm told is the dog community, the people that really wanted this will not allow people that can't have their dogs in
They
control.
police themselves pretty
They
well.
police themselves pretty good, because I was very concerned about that issue, and I was very concerned about people picking up after their dogs,
Right.
and then making sure that we're rotating the dog waste out enough times per week, so that it's not an issue with smell, of course.
Right, so would you say like every other day? Is that what the
Yes.
note said, every other day was gonna be?
Yep.
What was my other question? So the lighting will be off at 9, or is that what, or sunset?
So it's
or whatever?
photovoltaic, so it's
Okay.
photovoltaic, but it would be low-impact lighting. So we have to have more lights.
Right.
Because they're closer to the ground, as opposed to being high and creating light pollution that will bother the neighbors in the condos, or Welch Healthcare, or for that matter, even the Boys and Girls Club if they're having something at night.
Right, okay.
So do you have anything in the audience?
Yeah, I got a few things, guys. Walter Graney through Pryor's Drive. First thing is 6 a.m. to 8:45 p.m. The dog park's all 50 feet off of an abutters line. How are people going to be able to soundly have sleep and peace and quiet at 6 a.m. That doesn't sound feasible. Second point, why isn't the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park posting a bond? So then this isn't falling back onto the town. Third piece is, has a sound engineer actually gone through and looked at all this? Haven't seen that. And the fourth point is that our HOA, the plans for this have not been submitted in review. So you have several issues here, all confounding on each other. That's what are we doing here? You're looking to introduce noise and nuisance into a quiet residential area that has unpredictable times and lack of enforcement. All I keep hearing is, we may do this, we may do that. You can't have a site and then not have oversight.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, sure. Okay, Mr. Graney, Michael Moresco, we've met a number of times down at the park. So, first and foremost, the plans have been designed, and they're on the, are they on the town website? We'll have them up on the town website after the hearing for you to take a look at, but they are designed by professionals, both the overlay and the individual access, the parking, all of that. As far as the hours of operation, I think we could be open, if you think 7 o'clock's more palatable, we could go to a 7 o'clock hour. The dogs are contained in their areas. We've addressed the trash issue. We've addressed the water issue. We've addressed the lighting to make sure that the condo folks and the healthcare, Welch Healthcare, are not affected. We're doing low-impact photovoltaic lighting. And we'll have the carports, which will shelter a lot of that instead of having a lot of wooden structures. I'm trying to think, we're doing plantings on your side of the road and on the Boys and Girls Club side of the road. I think when you were there, we told you we're going to berm up that side, and that's part of the design, to berm up the side where your condo is. And we're going to be planting arborvitaes there. There's parking for both handicap and additional parking for about a dozen cars. And then folks that are coming will also be able to utilize the other town parking lots, which are on the other side of the fields.
So that additional parking is locked 3/4 of the year to get through there. So are there plans to change that?
Yes.
Okay, so other point, sound engineer, you're 50 to 75 feet at best off of an abutter's line with an additional 5 units that the town's approved to go in there. So when is a sound engineering study going to be performed on this?
There's not one that's required. No, there's no sound required.
Okay, so agree to disagree with prejudice on that one. You don't have a dog park going in your backyard. Second point here, Andrew, can you go back actually? I'm going to prove my point real quick here. Can you go back to the satellite view you're just showing there? I think it's you. That, where all those cars are, is the overflow parking for the Boys and Girls Club that's used for all of their employees in the summer. You're now taking away all that parking for an establishment the town has already invested in. Where is all that parking going to go to support the Boys and Girls Club? Because now you have 7 parking spaces and 2 handicap. And that satellite image right there, there's a lot more than 7 cars.
Well, just for full disclosure, I am an officer of the Boys and Girls Club. That is not Boys and Girls Club property. That's the town of Marshfield's property, and that is being used for the dog park. If during the summer they need to park there, they'll be competing for parking spaces with the people that are going there, because those are all town parking areas, just like the parking areas for the fields. So everyone will be competing for parking. No different than if you go downtown to go shopping during the height of the summer, or you go to Wrexham Beach and you're looking for parking space at noontime when, the sun's been up and people have been at the beach since 7 a.m.
Yeah, so by your own admission here, you're adding and compounding a problem that already exists with parking for the Boys and Girls Club by now taking away the overflow parking, which is on the property of the town of Marshfield.
We'll have to agree to disagree,
So
yeah.
during the summer, by your own admission here, right, during the summer, when most people are going to be using this park, there's going to be competing parking.
Unfortunately, it's that way everywhere in town. Boys and Girls Club will have to make arrangements to have those cars on their property. When the Boys and Girls Club's no different than any other entity. The Boys and Girls Club, for a matter of fact, is not owned by the town. It's a private nonprofit.
It is a private nonprofit that's gotten substantial financial benefits from the town. Let's not kid ourselves.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
So I have a question.
Yes.
The dog, Friends of the Dog Park, what is that, whatever they're called?
Marshfield, Friends of the Marshfield Dog
Okay.
Park.
So they have a board of directors? How many people are on that? Do they have terms? Like,
They do, yeah.
if
it's a-
they
it's a non-
dissolve, like,
Yep.
what happens then?
If they, like I said, the town is responsible for the park for 99 years. They'll assist with the managing the park as long as they're in existence. I can't guarantee, one thing I can guarantee, the town will be here in 99 years. I don't know if the
Good to know.
nonprofit, if those other, if other groups will be around in 99 years.
So my other question is, did you say they have dispensers for dog waste? They have,
Yes,
they're gonna
that's
have those
correct,
there?
private, yep.
Okay.
And
So-
we'll have the plastic bags also for them to pick up.
Okay, so I know Situate, their hours is 7 to 6, 7
Okay.
AM to 6. And granted, that doesn't have people all around it, it's on the Driftway. So that's just something for us to, just to think about. It's, if anybody was gonna be early in the morning, it would be there. You know what I mean? It's, because it's not surrounded by
Yeah.
anything.
I'm okay with 7. I just, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the same thing. I mean, it's, dogs are there. I mean, games, I'll defer to the chair on games. I don't know what
So
time the
there's-
games get over. People bring their dogs to the games anyway, so,
People
know-
bring their dogs up there and walk up there as we speak. I
Right.
mean, it's not like you're
right.
introducing a new dog
No, that's
walking.
correct, right.
It's just a more formalized area. That place up there, huge amount of dogs have walked up there daily on those fields. I'm up there, I know, I see it.
Yeah,
At least this focuses them over towards a space
Right.
that they have for
Designated
themselves
for
to
them,
actually
right.
use, yeah.
Oh, real quick, I look at this as being another recreational facility for the town.
yes.
What are the other recreational facilities open? What time do the kayak ramps open around town? Is there a specific time
I
that
don't
they
think,
open
I
and
think
close?
they're just open.
They just
Sun
utilize
comes up and you
They
can get
can,
out
yeah.
It
there.
appears to me that this would be more controlled than that. I personally live across the street from the opening to the Marshfield Trails, and I go to work every morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock.
There's people there.
There's people there
Yeah.
already utilizing the trails. So this being a town recreational facility and having a scheduled time opening and closing is actually more monitored than other facilities around town.
That is true, thank you, yes.
Well, I mean, it's a little different having a kayak thing, somebody picking their kayak up and sticking it in the water, and
Well,
then
the
someone
people-
having dogs
well,
barking.
Well, the people that walk across the street from my house at the trail, they routinely bring their dogs. Their dogs are there. I got people walking up and down my street, because it's a dead end right by the river.
Right.
They walk my street routinely. I'm a dog guy. I personally have dogs. My dogs are not dog park friendly. They're not going here, but I think it's another recreational facility for the town that people can use. There's plenty of people that don't kayak that are essentially paying for kayak ramps, and there are gonna be people that don't have dogs that are gonna be utilizing this or paying for
Well,
it.
like Heidi just said too, you know, with the dogs down in Wrexham,
Yeah.
the rec center, they're everywhere.
Sure.
Every trail in this town, they're there when they wanna go, so they don't have this is, you know, gonna be new. So I don't have a problem with the timeframes they're given now. If they end up being a problem, then that can be addressed at that point, but I don't see it as a problem. I just know from what I see up there personally on those fields currently going on, I don't think you're going to have more dogs here than is already there to begin with.
Yeah.
They just don't.
They're just gonna be in
Well,
their
people already have
designated area.
selected the sections of town they
Right.
walk in, like the rec center, that place is a dog park in its own. I
Right.
mean, it's ridiculous the amount of dogs down there. And then you have all the trails in the woods down there. There is a lot of dog activity there.
There is.
So this would have to draw those people away from there to even show up here. They've already established 2 Mile Farm. There's so many sections in this town, the cemeteries.
Right.
You're gonna have to draw them away to come here. We already have a dedicated group that walks in this area, currently uses the fields with their dogs, training and such, and the hope is maybe they'll move over to here.
Get them off the
But they're already
fields.
there to
Right.
begin with.
And just to, the point about socialization, you're 100% correct, because the dog parks are for socialization that gets into the recreational aspect of it, for the dogs to be social. But it's also a great opportunity for, people go there for, maybe an hour at a time, and they meet people, and, hopefully the dog owners will be social amongst themselves, and it's a new place to meet people. Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to the dog, I'm just trying to get all these questions out
No,
on the table for
absolutely.
the record. So nobody can just, it's gonna be posted, nobody can just leave their dog and like go watch a soccer game.
That's correct.
Well, people do stupid stuff, like they
That
do
would be
crazy
on-
things. They leave kids unattended, they leave dogs unattended.
Listen, they go on the turf fields at the schools, you know what I mean? They'll
They're
do anything.
insane. And then, I had one other question that I was gonna ask. So I think that, I would be more open to the 7 in the morning, and then if it was going well, then we can bring it back to the original request, which was the 6, just to, because there's been a lot of activity up there, and there's gonna be a lot of construction up there, and there's just gonna be a lot of stuff going up there, so just to be mindful for the neighbors, that would be my suggestion, is to, do it that way, and I could see maybe going past 6 o'clock, because
I think the sunset. would
not
be
many
the-
people are going to bed
You
at
had the
6.
sunset,
but-
which
Yes,
can
sunset.
average,
Yeah.
no past 9.
No later than 9,
That's
correct.
4 in the winter, so, I
Right,
mean,
right.
so that, I
Right.
think, takes care of itself.
And for safety wise too, I wanted to point out too, that this whole perimeter is gonna be fenced in, then the arborvitae's and the stones are gonna be on top of that.
That is correct.
It's not like the dogs are just gonna walk between the arborvitae's.
It's got 2 barriers.
They have to
Right.
be fenced in.
And
They're
there is the fence.
separated, yep.
And they're separated with the small dogs and
Yeah.
the big dogs.
Yeah, and it's made to be aesthetically pleasing for both the people that are walking there and people that are just passerbyers.
And this area there's been clearly a lot of development going on up there, so this to me is gonna be another low impact on that area right there, compared to what could be going on in a site this large.
Right.
Yeah.
It adds green space, because we're keeping the green with we will have photovoltaic carport style sheltering, but that's low impact and it sort of blends into, but it's better than having a building there, yes. And then, the dog, Heidi, just to your point, it does, in the rules, it will say that dogs cannot be, their owners cannot leave. They're required to be there with their dogs at all times.
And you said they have to leash up getting out of the car.
And leash up, right, and once they put them in there, they can take the leash off of them, and it's
Once
the
they leave
reverse.
the area, they leash
The
up
animals
again
need to be under the control of the owners.
until they get to the car.
Because that's
That's
what I
correct.
found a lot in Situate, they were just opening the car doors and,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of dogs that clearly were familiar with going there that went
Nowhere
right
to
to
go.
the door.
Nowhere to go.
Right, but there was other
But they're
ones that were
supposed to
just
be.
like running them up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a dog owner, I've had dogs my whole life, and, if this is our 3rd dog we have now, I always make sure when I take the dog to the beach that he's under my control at all times, and, if he goes to the bathroom, you pick up after him, you carry plastic bags and gloves, and that's what responsible owners do.
I can tell you from my experience, I've been to dog parks, but just using the rec center at 230 Webster, is that people use those fields for pens. So you have 15 dogs down there at a time, and they don't bark. It's not like when you go into that dog daycare place over by Situate or the one up off of 139 there. All you can hear is dogs.
Right.
It's a different atmosphere. It's not like a big barking incident.
right.
It's not what I see at a dog park.
No.
Now, is the animal control officer gonna be involved in this?
Yes, yeah, they'll be, they're the ones that will be called if there's a problem.
Yeah.
And they'll
Now,
do
would
the
would they get into a
investigations.
routine, like swing by on a daily basis, swing by, stop?
We'll
check on it?
ask them to do that as
Yeah.
part of their normal routine, yep.
So I'm sure they must do buzzes around town when they're in that area, just to, when you swing in.
When they're picking up animals and stuff that
Yeah,
are
keep an
unleashed,
eye on
yep.
it,
maybe down at Wrexham if they're unleashed, because
They're
we have a
always down
leash
there
law.
looking
That's a
for them,
great
yeah.
point, because we actually do have a leash
do.
law.
Yeah, but we
Hard
also,
to believe.
it is, but they all fall back on the state law, which is painful.
What does that mean? What do you mean?
Well, it's a state law that states that if you have a working dog or a hunting dog on public property, you're allowed to unleash them, to train them. It's state, it dates back 200 years, so, but it's still there, and that is how people get around the leash law. They claim they're working dogs and hunting dogs, which they're not. Show me any working or hunting dogs in this town.
There are many dogs that are on leash that are very.
But they're
very
supposed
much
to
under
follow the
control
leash
of
law. We
their-
have fines
of
and
their
everything in
own.
this town, but that's how they get around the law, is
So
the state
just
law.
one other question for the
Yes.
record, sorry.
I am here all night. I've booked off the whole night. I'm happy to be here.
We are not gonna be here all night, I'm just telling you right now.
Sorry, Fred.
So this isn't gonna be something where someone who's a dog trainer can come train dogs there or something, because that is a question that I did get a call about. Is someone gonna?
Well,
who's
technically,
it?
Heidi,
Can they,
so
or
it's public property.
can they do
and,
that?
The law falls under that. That's the state law, unless Bob sees something different.
No, they can probably
Anywhere,
come and
you
do
know
that.
that any public property, it is, you can legally take a supposed hunting or working dog to train them.
Right, but if someone has a dog, a puppy, I remember when we brought our dog, when we first got our first dog to puppy training, whatever the
I
heck
don't
it
know
is. There was
anyone
like
that owns a
12
hunting or
dogs
working
there.
dog.
There was 12 dogs there, and it was like a nightmare. So can they bring them to the park and do the training there, is what I'm asking. Is
Yeah,
there
it's
any
public.
rules
It's a
about that?
public, it's a public facility. If they become a nuisance, then, if their dogs are not under
I'm just
control, it
asking.
says in the rules that they can't. And that's why the Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park want to get into this whole identification thing. You have you'll get like a Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park or Town of Marshfield dog key, maybe there'll be we talked about,
Swipe
and these
key.
are things, I'm not a member of the Marshfield, Friends of the Marshfield, so I don't want to speak too much for them, but I do attend the meetings and stuff like that, and, maybe we might have some kind of card access. I don't know what they're planning, but, one of the things is they need to continually raise funds to be able to maintain the park, so that's the way you do it. Now, this person who's a trainer wants to bring 5 of his dogs, well, he'd have to buy 5 memberships for his dogs, and as long as he's paying.
No, that's what I'm
and
just
st- yeah.
asking, like, is that like a normal thing? Like, I don't know.
Just go down to the rec
like-
center
right.
and pen them in there, like they
In
do
the
now.
soccer field, no, I'm just
No, they put them in the
asking. I don't
baseball
think it's
field
an
right now.
unreasonable
They'll tell you
question.
there's
Yeah.
20 in there running around, but they're not loud.
Yeah, I personally, I could see people bringing their dogs on there, just for socialization, somebody does dog training, bringing younger dogs on there for socialization. I'm not so sure I'm big on charging any other fees for the townspeople to utilize it, it's just gonna be public, and hopefully the dog people are pretty generous anyways, and
Yeah.
clearly with this already, that.
Well, you'll
through
see
their
that,
fundraising,
that
they should be able to
community
raise quite a
is,
bit.
they police themselves pretty well.
Yeah.
The ones that get away with not picking up after themselves are usually they're the outliers. Most of these people always have their bags, they're very respectful of the property they're on.
I mean, there are costs, there are costs to the park. So there's the water bill that you would have to pay. So the Friends would be responsible for that. And probably the biggest expense is the removal of the dog waste.
Yeah.
And then the purchasing of the bags. I mean, those are sort of the big things. That's why with the photovoltaic lights, there's no electrical charge for that, so.
So is there any kind of, do we know the numbers, like how much any of that stuff's gonna cost? Like, because if they can't raise the money, then it falls back to the town, so do we have a number, or did they give us any
I
information
know,
about that?
but like I said, they've been very good about raising money. They've
Well,
raised
granted, they've
about
been doing it for a
50,000,
while,
yeah.
right.
Well, I'll just say that currently I know that the senior center, the rec center down at, on Ferry Street, they put up their own bags and supply, because they don't want the waste in the yard.
Right.
So we have it down at the fields.
Yeah.
Hopefully people use them, and the town pays for that. So,
Yeah.
I understand there's cost, but this goes on a lot of the properties we have in town. We do have the dog bags set up, and you can pull them yourself there. But most of these dog owners bring them with them.
They do,
They're pretty diligent.
yes.
As I said, I have a ton of people walking their dogs up and down our street now.
Yeah.
I never really had a problem with it.
No,
Oh, they're the outliers.
Yeah,
The
they've
ones
been-
that don't
they've
pick
been-
up are the outliers.
So if there is an issue with the dog, are they calling animal control? Are they, is it gonna be posted, they call the police? Do they call
The
the?
animal control officer.
Animal control officer, they call, and if it's after hours, it's the
If
police
it's
like any
adults
place
fighting,
else?
if it's adults fighting over dogs, then they call the police and the animal control officer.
But if there's an issue with the dog or
It's
anything,
animal
it's
control.
animal control.
And it will be
after
right
that.
on the,
It'll
right
be
on the sign.
It'll be posted, just
That's
like.
why I looked at the sign when you had asked the
Right.
question about
Right.
unattended.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like kids, the owners have to be there to maintain the dogs.
Should get those at the playground, too.
Right.
Okay, that was my question.
Forget anything else from the audience? Bob, Andrew?
Is it, oh, I just have one more thing, sorry. I just have one more thing, I'm sorry to be a pain.
Not at all. I
Get
told you I'm
something
willing to
from
be here.
Mary to everyone.
Mary.
Liability. Mary, you out there, or?
As long as there's no fee being charged for the use of the park, there's no liability. Dog owners are strictly liable for their dog's injuries, unless someone is teasing or tormenting the dog too.
So that makes to the bond issue, like, that speaks,
Dog owners are responsible for
For their
their
own
dogs,
thing.
strictly.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
So the question about the bond, that would be, it's not normal for a dog park to have a bond, because I looked up some of the other dog parks, there was no bonds.
Right.
It's a public park.
Okay.
It's a public
Okay,
park.
I just wanted to get that
Nope,
off the table. Because
absolutely.
I did look at other dog parks in other towns, and there was no bond required.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so, nothing else from anyone else?
Brian, the only thing I would say is, as far as like the noise consideration, the noise has to be like a sustained,
Andrew.
loud, and it has to meet a certain decibel level, and it's gotta be as like a sustained, constant noise, like a machinery. And that's what we have as far as our environmental performance standards, and I don't think that dogs barking or people talking or whatever would really, ever meet those standards that we have.
Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that we close the meeting that I don't know the name of. 22-128, Town of Marshfield, 35 Proprietors Lane Drive. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Frank Sullivan, aye?
He's got his dog.
Thank you. So, and now I'm gonna move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for site plan approval. If I can read this tiny writing. On a plan from
8/4/22,
8/4/22,
revised 11/2/22.
revised 11/2/22. Andrew, do we have the site plan approval standards or the things we agreed with?
It's in
What?
that file, so they're there.
What's it? Oh, they're in there?
12/02. There's the subsection F and then there's the subsection G
Okay.
factors.
So subsection F and subsection G, do we agree with these?
I do.
I do, I already read them, so.
I do.
I do.
Yeah, I'm just breezing through them quickly. Yep.
And so, Andrew, is there a building permit on this, or?
For any of the structures, they'll need a building permit, like if they add, that roof structure, or if they put a shed over 64 square feet, they'll need to get, building permits for those, but otherwise, not much else other than, electrical permits, sign permits, those kind of things.
All right, so the conditions would be that, and would be,
Have them do an as-built plan.
as-built, for sure, as-built plan. And then, so we're agreeing to, we're okay to go to 7 to Sunset,
Yes.
okay? That's incorporated, and I think that's everything. So based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated that his existing work meets all the requirements of section 1202 of the bylaw, I move that we approve this
Site plan approval.
site plan approval.
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Oh, Heidi Conway, aye. What is the chat?
Grover?
Frank Sullivan, aye?
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Thank you.
Oh, she was asking about,
Is your motion to adjourn, Brian?
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Larry Keane, aye?
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Grover.
He's coming.
Grover Housley, aye.
There he is.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Happy
Andrew.
New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.